Hey y'all, I'm Allison Asarch from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Sean Fraser from the Ritzy Kids.
Hunters, this is Johnny from Rail Motor.
Hey, it's Shane from Blind Season.
Hey, it's Rob Stanier, and you can check out my music on all the streaming platforms.
Check out my latest music on all the streaming sites.
Check out my debut album on all streaming platforms.
Check out our new debut album.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Music. And you're listening to our friends, Braggy and Curly.
My favorite bands from Australia.
My two favourite podcasters,
Braggy and Curly.
Braggy and Curly.
On the
Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to episode 112 of the Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast. Tonight, we have all the experts on board, bar myself. And tonight's episode is to help all aspiring artists to actually help them set up an effective home studio for themselves. Yes, you can just record on an iPhone, but sometimes you just might need something a little bit better. So barriers to entry have obviously been lowered, and the ability is there for everyone to get their music out. And tonight we're going to look at how you might be able to do that. And to help us, we do have a team of experts. Once again, we've got Rossi in Sydney, we've got Braggy in Adelaide, and Braggy, I'm going to let you introduce our other guest.
First, can I talk about the cricket?
Yeah.
Rossi, yeah. Now, I reckon all I could hear last night was that great Toto song. I bless the rains down in Manchester.
I think the last hour was washed out by English tears.
I reckon we should just forfeit the last one and just come back home and get on the piss.
We don't have to. Doesn't matter.
I actually thought it was funny that they were saying we could have played till 10 o'clock, but without losing the sight of the fact that it was still raining at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, mate, some of the things I heard, they're talking about they want to build a roof at Lord's. Yeah, sure, they're going to let them do that.
I saw a really nice meme today of when they're putting the covers on, and someone said it was a giant hanky on its way to Piers Morgan's house.
Okay, introductions. Now, Curly, as you know, on the Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast, we only get the really good guests back on for a second or third time, and I think this gentleman, it's the third time. And so all the way from North Queensland, the big man, aka the one and only, his sister still owes me £1, from Sainsbury's, Rob Stanier. How are you, Robbie?
I'm good. How are you all?
How are you, Robbie?
We're great, mate.
Yeah, love it.
I must say, it took me a while to pick a who am I that would fit in with all this. And I still don't think it fits in, but anyway.
All right, so before we get started, I do have a little bit of news. But first up, what a great episode last week with the
Josie.
energetic Josie. Just an amazing conversation.
She's
and
a
I hope
pro already.
Yeah, if you haven't heard that episode, go back and check it out. It's she's a legend. And the other thing I just want to throw out there, the former co-host Matt Bailey. I think Braggy, we've been waiting 3 years for him to get some music out.
Yes.
And he finally has got some music out. I'll make sure the links are in the show notes, but he's done a really nice job on a music video for a song called I'll Be There, which is probably his best song in my personal opinion. But he's also released a song called 59, which is a song about his dad who unfortunately passed away far too early. So well done, Matty. It's good to see you back in the music world and finally getting some stuff out there. So now I'm going to set the first timer for the Who Am I. I've explained it all to Rob, so he knows when the timer goes. We stop and we do Braggy's Who Am I.
But I don't know what the actual alarm sounds like. So
you'll hear it. So so Braggy, I'm going to press start, and then you can coordinate proceedings.
Am I starting right now?
No.
Oh,
okay. The alarm should be the jingle.
Yeah, it just comes on mid-sentence.
Yeah,
it does.
All right, let's talk home studios, Braggy.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think how are we going to start this? I reckon we need to start with, can you do it in any room? Can you, if you just got your bedroom, can you do it in your bedroom? Because I think that's the first thing, the room. And if you can, do you have to do anything to it?
No. The short answer, I believe no.
You can't do it in your bedroom.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple. If you look at someone, there's an Apple TV have got a doco on Billie Eilish and her brother, and that whole album that won 8 Grammys. That was recorded literally with her sitting cross-legged, holding a TLM 103 microphone. It's a Neumann, a cheaper Neumann, and just holding it in her hand and sitting cross-legged on the bed and recording into it. And that's what you see is what you hear on the album, and it is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, I've heard tales of people taking a laptop and a USB microphone and using their own car as a recording booth.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
you lock yourself in your car, and like it's a small confined space with almost a bit airtight and lots of soft furnishings inside the car. Get a reasonable result. There's a whole lot.
Rossi, I've set up I've got a van. I've set it up for recording. Like the 12 volt. I've got a 12 volt converter for my laptop, and I've got a inverter for one of my Apollos. And the same thing, it's got a mattress in it, so it sounds pretty good in there. And I can drive anywhere and just stop and record something.
That's right.
Like the Rolling Stones.
The Rolling Stones mobile.
It's not quite there. It's not quite their truck that I've got.
But with the amount of the explosion in home recording, the stuff that people the unmediated view of the world now is you don't need to sign to a major record label, go into Sony studios in Hargrove Street in Sydney or anywhere those big studios and record. There's very, very good stuff done in boutique studios, home studios, everywhere. It don't matter. A lot of stuff doesn't matter. And the gatekeepers are gone. People can do stuff themselves unmediated.
And I guess especially with the music that's in the charts now, like hip hop, which is just maybe a vocal and then some loops, which you're not a lot to record, really, is there?
Well, I wouldn't know.
Okay. Well, that's what I listening to it. That's what I figure. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
I think with today's recording, there's so much that people can do inside what they call it in the box, but inside the computer. If you're recording a band and you've got, like a full drum kit and stuff like that, then maybe the bedroom's not the best place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But to do basic stuff, these days, you really don't even need to have treatment in your room. I mean, it's good to have treatment, but these days, like I've got a microphone. It's called a Townsend Labs Sphere microphone. And it's a modeling mic, and what it can do is you record with it, and after the fact, you can actually take the room out of the recording, and just be left with the voice. And there's not there's not like artifacts and horrible sounds and stuff like that. It literally takes the reflections of the room out of the recording. It's amazing, absolutely amazing what it does.
Modeling equipment has changed the game a fair bit, and it's modeling microphones, modeling amplifiers.
Can we explain modeling for Curly and for some of the other listeners? What that is? Maybe start with like modeling a guitar amp, how that works, Rob.
Well, what they do now is they worked out a way of taking because obviously if anyone's ever recorded a raw guitar, it's really tinny and really sounds horrible. You plug it into an amplifier, and because amplifiers are basically a bunch of crap circuitry that makes it sound amazing, then and through a really cheap speaker, we get these tones, these incredible tones. And so what the computer guys have worked out is that if you take that raw signal, they can modify it with software to make it sound exactly the same as if it's coming out of that amplifier. And you can choose.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you can choose. You can say, I want a little, a tiny little amplifier with a speaker, or I want a great big AC/DC stack, or whatever, and you can make it sound just exactly like that.
For the guitar nerds, there's products like Amplitude, there's Bias Effects, there's all these guitar modeling things, and you can go in like Amplitude have a series of Marshalls, they have a series of Vox amplifiers, Fender Twins, triple rectifier, Mesa Boogie amplifiers, you name it, Ampeg SVTs. You can then choose the microphone you're using to point at the speaker. You can choose the type of speaker cabinet you've got. You can also put your effects in line ahead of it. You can do all that sort of stuff. And that is how that modeling stuff works. You can get modeling amplifiers like the Boss Katana would do it inside the box. And it's got a USB out that you plug straight into your computer. Yeah, because what
really, sorry, Rossi, the thing that's really good is that it's really difficult to tell. Tave's been playing guitar all his life, and when we did the last recording last year, I actually had Amplitude, and we were like, when we recorded a feed from the guitar amp, like a mic from the guitar amp, and we recorded the raw sound, and I played some stuff through the raw into Amplitude, and Tave just went, oh my God, that is just sounds amazing, And we're talking to a guitarist,
Yes, that's right. Well, back in the 1980s, which was a very long time ago, I seem to recall. I was touring with a rock and roll guitar player who would only play through a Marshall JCM 800, and he was obnoxiously, insanely loud, like loud beyond repair. And the only way we could get him to play quieter was we would baffle speakers. We'd put cardboard in front of speakers or carpet in front of speakers. The record was we exposed 1/4 of one speaker one night to get it as loud, to get the sound. Because
who could that be, Curly?
You stuck a 57 in front of that little cone and got the sound. But what we also did with him at one stage, we got our hands on what they call a Tom Schultz Rockman. If you remember those, Rob?
Yes.
The Rockmans, right?
I don't.
It was little blue thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Amplitude actually have a model of the Rockman now, and it's great. And it's the Def Leppard sound for the 1980s, right? But we would take a DI and we would we'd take the DI down to the desk and insert the Rockman over the top of that. And he could do whatever he wanted with his Marshall on stage. It just wasn't getting in the PA.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, so the modeling stuff became really, really popular once the Line 6 stuff came out. The pod, that kind of changed the whole industry. In fact, Tave and I, we were working in the shop when that first came out.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where you just go, oh my God, how is this box doing this?
So basically, Curly, what it means, Curly, is that from your bedroom, instead of going to spending millions of dollars at a studio that's got all these wonderful old vintage amps, you can just freaking dial it up on your computer. That's the amp I want to sound like. Let me, I mean, and microphones as well. You can pick, make your mic sound like whatever. I guess that doesn't quite work, does it?
Same goes for synthesizers. Same goes for drum kits. Some of the drum modeling stuff nowadays is out of control. I've got a MIDI drum kit in here.
Yeah,
and we plug it into we track using a thing called Tune Track Easy Drummer, and then we put it in Superior Drummer, and you can just
it's
insane.
I've been working with Superior for the last 6 months, and I just love it. It's mind blowing. Yeah, it's incredible what it can do.
Okay, so let's talk about programs and formats then. So because you guys were talking before about what someone starting out, what I know you can get GarageBand. I think most people would know that on there if they've got a Mac.
Yep.
Is that the way to start?
I think so.
Yeah. Depends if you've got a Mac or a PC, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to get to know the way recording with DAWs works, or digital audio workstations, to use the full name. But I think it's a way of starting the GarageBand. I'm not sure whether there's anything in Windows that can start.
Who are you?
Go for it, Braggy.
Hold that thought, Rob. I got one for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got my. Look what I got here, Tate.
What do you got? Are you going to write the answer down? Have you told the boys what you've been
I told
pushing
Curly.
for? Okay.
Curly's got a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Okay. I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, on the 21st of October, 1940. I studied music at the University of Witwatersrand and worked as a jazz pianist at a number of coffee bars and nightclubs in Johannesburg. I was heavily influenced by the music of Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and Dave Brubeck, but felt that my musical growth would be stymied by further work in South Africa. Also, I was strongly opposed to the apartheid system, so in 1961, age 21, I moved to the UK. Upon arrival in England, I quickly established a music career, firstly as a jazz pianist and teacher, but also writing articles for some of the many magazines in London at the time. However, my preference for jazz quickly ran headlong into the growing public taste for rhythm and blues that began sweeping through younger audiences in England during the 60s. South Africa threw you, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to write. I get 3 guesses, right?
Oh, you making up your own rules now, are you?
No, you told me when you're doing it. You say I've got 3 guesses.
Okay.
So I've got 3 bits of paper, so I'm going to write one down now.
Righto.
And I'm going to put number 1.
Okay.
So back to Garage Band or
Yes. Sorry, Rossi, you said.
Look, there's a wide range of products that can do the job for you. The very simplest one, I think it's cross-platform as well. It's called Audacity, and that will teach you a little bit about recording WAV files, just a tiny bit. And like if you start doing that, that's okay. Now the one I use here, I use an open source product called Reaper, and I absolutely adore it.
Yeah, I was going to mention Reaper. It does have a fairly high learning curve,
steep learning curve, because it's open source.
Yeah,
the money you save on spending on it,
what it can do. Yeah, there's actually a lot of pros using it these days.
That's right. I've done a couple of albums on it. I've done lots of dubbing, all sorts of stuff. But I've also got 16 channels of Focusrite going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I can run 16. I can record. I got a little rack. I can roll the rack out, but not that I really feel keen to do that, but I can, and I can do 16 channels in one hit live off the Focusrite straight into Reaper.
Okay, so there's quite a few early sort of format things to.
I think the important thing is obviously the first thing to work out is, are you going to go Windows or Mac? Like what platform you're going to use. Really important decision.
To decide where you're going.
I'm on the Mac platform, so I don't know a lot about Windows, but I know Audacity is a good program. My recommendation would be to start with something simple, get to know how to hit that record button, how to overdub, how to just do your basic recording, not necessarily 100 tracks or anything like that. And then when you're used to that, when you're used to the way the process works and the way looking at the screen and what everything's happening, then move on to something different. Like GarageBand for Mac is perfect to start with.
Absolutely.
It's really simple, and that leads to a program like Logic. The good thing about Logic is a month ago they released it on the iPad, and it is a monster on the iPad. It is
okay.
fabulous.
So let's say Curly, for instance, is like a killer banjo player, and
he is, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's got some really cool bluegrass songs with some nice singing. He's got a good voice. And he's going to go Mac and whoever he's picked his format, and he's got to think, what else does he need? And he's got his bedroom or his car. What else? He's going to need mic, isn't he? Mics or something.
A mic?
No. The first thing he needs is an interface.
Audio interface.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
something to get
So
the
something to
sound.
plug the banjo into and then get it into the computer. 'cause you
Yeah,
can't
and the microphone when you buy the microphone.
and the microphone, right? And what do we go for there?
An audio interface for for PC users would be like an old sound. It's like an external high powered sound card.
Right.
Yeah. But it does all the things, right? It's got the ability to plug a proper XLR professional microphone into it.
Yeah.
And have line inputs. You can plug a guitar straight into it. It's got a headphone out. A good set of monitoring headphones would be lovely.
Right, you need headphones too. Yep.
But like in your early days, you probably just need a light 2-channel interface, wouldn't you say, Rob?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So even something like a little Focusrite, or
love them. They're great.
Little pre-Sonus. You can pick them up, even brand new. You can pick them up for 200 to 250.
If that.
And the thing a lot of people don't realize is that technology has moved forward so far that the quality of these $150, $200 interfaces is so. There's so little difference between that and the $5,000 interface as far as sound quality that you can actually get $100 interface, or you probably pick up something $50 secondhand, and you could record an album with it.
Definitely could.
Yeah.
And like, the best thing, the most important thing you need is a pair of ears. That's what you need. That's the most important bit of equipment you need. You need ears. You need to be able to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your mic.
We haven't talked about microphones, but again, with a microphone, if you can afford something a little bit more expensive, then that's great. You'll probably get better quality. But it is in folklore that Jimmy Barnes did record a few songs with his SM58, which is like a good quality stage mic, but it's not a great recording mic. So what I'm saying is, if you're gigging, you've got a 58, you don't have any money, you could still record with that if you wanted to.
I could just see Barnesy just blowing the diaphragm out of the Neumann.
$5
billion Neumann.
But what's the difference there? What's the difference between a live mic and a studio mic? Because, for someone like me, I'm thinking it's a microphone.
In one word, sensitivity and quality.
Okay.
The diaphragm, its ability to reject external sounds, part of it.
Yeah.
It's
a live mic is built. A live mic's built to
reject,
not be influenced by the sounds around it, whereas a studio mic is better. And also, studio mics generally they're regarded as they're called large diaphragm mics because the diaphragm that you sing into is probably that big, whereas on a SM58 it's like that big. So
see, a really good place to start for this sort of stuff. If you go into YouTube, you can watch all these guys doing all these crazy things. I saw a guy today, and he was recording an entire kit with one 57.
Yeah,
and it sounded all right.
There's a clip I saw last week on YouTube. You're like this, Rossi. This guy, he got a soda can, and he got a couple of little plastic bowls, and just a couple of little things on a table, 2 pencils, right? And he mic'd them up, and he recorded them, and then he put it into tune tracks, Easy Drummer, and got
triggered
them the sounds, and it sounded fantastic. And he's sitting there just playing the table basically.
Creative thinking brings some really unique approaches to this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You don't like the gear I have here. If I walked into a studio that had what I have here in, when I was first going into studios in the 80s, this is millions of dollars worth of gear. It ain't that nowadays,
No,
the equipment, the price has just gone like that. And for most musicians, right, they use these sort of environments for doing their demos. They to get their ideas down, their scratch vocals, to get their ideas, use it as a digital notepad. See, it can be a little forgiving about what the quality of it, especially if you're starting out and you just want to get your song ideas down. You have a microphone and you can plug an acoustic guitar in. get a Focusrite, plug it into Logic or Pro Tools or Reaper or Cubase or FL Studio or whatever product you can get your hands on.
Yeah.
And you can start to. The one trick that I wish I knew earlier is minus 12 dB, because I came from the old rock and roll 0 dB.
Yeah.
Like when you mix and like your old head. You remember old cassette decks had a VU meter, right?
Yep.
And you used
And
to
desks,
they used to say that you go over the zero and up, you can touch over it and touch under it, right?
Yeah.
That's 0 dB. Now, digital gear runs better at minus 18, isn't it, Rob?
I think it's about minus 12.
Minus 12.
Yeah, maybe minus 18. Yeah. It's
minus
around
18.
there.
So you run the stuff much quieter, and it's a cultural shift. And for older folk who are trying to transition to digital, you always record stuff too hot, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I still do it now.
I do too. I can't help myself.
The new thing that's just come out is 32-bit recording interfaces. Have you read much about them, Rossi?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay, 32-bit recording interface. They record in 32-bit.
Yeah.
There is no gain switch on them. they're I can't remember the exact figure, but how CD quality is got, I think, a dynamic range of 96 dB, and the higher end interface has got a dynamic range of about 150 dB. These have got something like 10,000 dB in dynamic range. So you literally plug a microphone in,
it records.
It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as gain. You cannot. It's literally impossible. It's out of the range of human hearing on what it can pick up or what it can handle as far as dynamic range. And you do everything. Yeah, you do everything afterwards. They're just coming onto the market now.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how you record Mazawak at minus 18 dB.
Well, the thing is, right? The thing is, right? A recording, whilst you go, that sounds like a natural recording, right? But like, no one in the world I know is ever listening to a band, except for me occasionally. But that's how I love the story. With their ear that far off a speaker at 120 dB, whilst at the same time having your ear that far off a snare drum and that far off a kick drum, right?
Yeah.
The microphones, these are all, you're getting characteristic sounds. The sound you're hearing in recordings isn't the sound of a band, because it doesn't exist like that. Because the microphone, you can't be in more than one place at once, right?
True.
As an aside too, if any listeners want to look into 32-bit recording, I think the company that's put the commercial one out at the moment is Zoom, of all people.
Zoom, they're great.
Yeah. They're right onto. They're always right up there.
Yeah, I've had a few Zoom recorders over the years.
Curly, what do you got? Any questions so far about your banjo setup?
I've actually
him up then, Dave.
Yeah, no. I've the funny thing is, right? I've got my iPad in front of me, right? So, and I've always thought GarageBand was just something that you'd twiddle around and use on the drums and whatnot. So I had to download it again. It's been that long since I've used it, but now it seems a lot more complex. It's got things coming into it, and I can't even see my old drums again. So, but anyway, yeah.
Hey, Dave, Curly must be really keen about this banjo recording.
Yeah, thinking about it. So let's go.
That's why I opened it up. I was hoping that there was a banjo in there, so I could.
You do know the difference between a banjo and a trampoline, don't you?
No.
Normally you take your shoes off. Normally you take your shoes off when you jump on a trampoline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you hear about the guy who left his banjo in his car and left the car unlocked and went shopping? And when he came back, there was two banjos in there.
So I'm guessing like the minimum equipment that you need is like a laptop, a mixer, and
an audio interface and some software and a microphone.
Yeah, a mixer isn't absolutely essential, but it certainly helps. Just to,
okay, so let's go move on. Say that's just Curly with his banjos. What if Curly's got a whole bunch of other guys he's got a band like a drummer and a fiddle player and a double bass player,
of banjo players,
and it's too big for the bedroom. How do you? But you still want to do it yourself. You don't want to go to the studio. You got to find somewhere else to record. What do you do there?
Well, that's the answer, Tave. You got to find somewhere else to record because you can't record in your bedroom.
But what do you look for then? You just go anywhere?
I think these days, you probably know the recording we did in Sydney in January, just the recording a rehearsal with a little 6-track mixer. I would suggest that if you've got an interface that can handle, maybe 8 tracks or whatever, if you want to do the
playing, live band playing,
then maybe hire a rehearsal studio and get in there and set up a few mics. You've got to remember that back in the 60s, a lot of the recordings that we listen to that we still love today, and even people as young as my grandkids love today, are recordings where they were just sitting in a room, aka a rehearsal room, and they had 3 or 4 mics just set up in front of, in various positions. And people can do that these days and still get a reasonable recording. They can go into a rehearsal room and they can just move one mic in front of the drum kits and record a bit and go, oh yeah, that's the snare drum's a bit loud, so move it, a little bit off the center or whatever, and you just play around and come up with the sound that you like.
There's an old saying that says that recording is like 90% just sitting around. So I guess you got to be prepared to do a lot of experimentation and just try it this way, try it that way until you get a sound that you like on anything you record.
The famous Glenn Johns recording technique of a drum kit was like 4 mics, right? And so all the Beatles stuff was 4 mics, and that was overkill for that period. I've been to Sun Studios in Memphis, right? And that there ain't a lot of treatment in that room, is there? And what I reckon they got a couple of hits out of there as well.
I think they did.
Just quietly,
yeah.
And that's the thing, like it's and this gets back to what Rossi said earlier. It's use your ears, and that's the absolute most important thing. Even if you've got one microphone, put it in the room, record the band, listen to it, move around, have a listen, move it around, have a listen. It's because the bottom line is people, they get all they talk about recording endlessly, and there's a million YouTube videos about how if you change this by 0.75 of a dB, it's going to make an incredible difference. Anyway, but
my hearing can't tell the difference.
The bottom, no, you can't. The bottom line is what we're doing as recording engineers, we're recording a performance. That's the bottom line.
That's it. That's exactly it. Get the vibe of the thing down better than making it perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Capture the feeling and the vibe of it.
I got a Behringer XR18, those Behringer boxes.
Yep.
And an XR18 is like a 16-channel desk. It's just a box this big, right? I plug a USB into it. I plug it into Reaper. I took it into a rehearsal room, and there was a punk band. I did an entire album that way.
Wow!
And they released the album. I was like, whew. It sounds pretty heavy. It sounds punk rock as punk rock can be. The band was called Maximum Security, and the record they're a punk band that was. Their material was all based on jail songs. And the album was called Never to Be Released.
I love it.
And it ended up, there's some stuff on that sounds great. And it was all done with a Behringer XR18 in a rehearsal room. And they were playing full tilt when I recorded it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
All righty.
Overdub the vocals later, Rob. Overdub the vocals later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. We'll get it. We'll talk about that after this next bit.
All right.
Tave.
Can't braggy. You can
in the course of me, so when we've previously left, this guy, move to England. I've already given it away. It's a he. Fuck, dickhead. In the course of me playing at Butland's Resort in Clacton during 1962, I met percussionist Mike Hugg. We soon began playing together, eventually forming a blues band that grew into a septet, including 2 saxmen and a trumpet player. We were successful on the London club scene, playing venues such as the Marquee and other top music spots. Gigging throughout late 1962 and early 1963, we soon attracted attention for our distinctive sound. In March 1963, our group signed with producer John Burgess on His Majesty's Voice label and began our recording output that July with the slow blues instrumental single, Why Should We Not?, which we performed in our first appearance on television on a New Year's Eve show. It failed to chart. But the instrumental soloing of woodwinds, vibes, harmonica, and second keyboard lent considerable weight to the group's sound and demonstrated the jazz-inspired technical prowess in which they took pride. We took pride.
Oh,
Any idea, Curly?
No, of course.
Okay.
Why would I have
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one, this one. It's a tricky
I mean,
one.
seriously.
I mean, I've got these two, though, that I'm reading it to, so.
I've got a second. I've got 2 names now.
Yeah, I'm guessing the
first
first
one,
name I wrote down was Delta Goodrum, so I don't think that's it. All right.
So
where were we?
Yeah, we were talking about the sound, and the point that I've heard people say this before, and it is true. How many times has anyone listened to a record and gone, "Oh, I don't really like the space that was recorded in," or "Gee, those drums are a little bit sort of off," or whatever, And there are.
Do you know the Moving Pictures song "Bustin' Loose"?
Yep.
No.
Go have Moving Pictures' first single was called "Busting Loose." If you go and listen to the snare drum on that, it's a travesty. It breaks my heart every time I hear it. Other story. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. But like
Great
generally,
song,
a song it'll become a hit because of the feel of the song and
That's
what
right.
it does
That's right.
emotionally to the person. So
That's
if
right.
something's a little bit out of kilter, if
Doesn't matter.
if that 3K on the snare is that needs to be adjusted 0.75 of the dB, then
it don't
no one's
matter.
Gonna go, oh, I'm not going to listen to that because of that.
If people are stopped not listening to it, you got other problems.
Yeah.
I agree. It's about the performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
About capturing the best vibe of, like, you listen to the Sonics album. You can hear it as redlining, right? Which is songs like Have Love Will Travel. The thing's redlining. And I love the sound of that record.
Okay. So I really like where this discussion is going. We're talking about the performance. So now, even if you're just the home guy, like Curly's the home guy recording his banjo, how does he get his best performance out? What things does he need to do in the recording situation for him to get to capture a good performance? Because if it's about the performance, then you two guys have got to. I guess one of your jobs is making the band give you their best performance that you can record.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that you've got someone else is recording.
Yeah, or even if you're home recording yourself and you've got to get a good performance out of yourself. I mean, is there things you can do?
Sure.
In your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the technology probably needs to be transparent. So, and by that, what I mean is you need to get to a point where you're comfortable enough with the technology that if let's say you're singing the song, so that you're singing the song, you haven't got going through the back of your mind the whole time. I hope this is recording. Did I hit the right button?
Right.
Record or whatever.
Right. Yep, I get you. You got to be comfortable with the gear you're using, so you can just focus on that. Just
like when you're playing a guitar, you feel comfortable when you know the guitar really well, and when you do it without thinking. Technology is and recording is exactly the same.
You take.
The reason I asked that is because, like, when you're recording Rail Mate, usually you just shout at us.
Yeah. But and look at the performance that I get from shouting at you.
Those loud words of encouragement.
Yeah,
And
all
love.
it doesn't work.
all producers have a different approach, I must say.
And
I've seen the approach Rob has on a couple of people. I've seen different approaches as well.
Yeah, that's right. And every performer is different, you know.
Yeah,
They all need different things.
You know what?
Yeah.
When I recorded Ben Pennant, I didn't shout at him,
No.
but I shouted at you guys.
Yeah, so I guess you need to kind of be you need to know personalities. You need to work out people's personalities.
Yeah.
Look, I've been a stage roadie. I've done stage management for 40 years, and part of my gig, as I've always said, is about making sure the performer's head is in the game. That you take all the variables out of the things they need to worry about, right? It's the same in the studio. When I work with bands, when they go in the studio, I go in the studio with them, and I take the downtime to set the intonation up on guitars and clean things up, and make sure that everything's kind of doing what it's supposed to be, tuning drums, tweaking, all that sort of stuff. But just do all those simple things right as well. Do a little bit of pre-production where you know what you're going to need. Make sure you've got it on hand so you're not stressed and going, oh, shit, I've got to go and get a tambourine now. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess being well rehearsed for even if you're just recording yourself is very important. Yeah.
Know your part, know where you're going.
Absolute given. Absolute given.
Know where you're going.
Yeah, musicians. Rob, I was thinking that that not yelling at Ben Penner probably had a little bit to do with the different contracts you signed for Rail Motor and Ben.
Actually, probably did.
Yeah. You're a bit undervalued there with the.
You had to bring that up,
boys.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
hey, now Rob,
we doubled his wages for this new album.
I heard that.
Yeah, which means I can double my shouting.
Now, Rob sent me through a couple of bits of early recordings for the podcast. Rob, do you want to start walking through what they're about?
I just sent it through a couple because in the early 2000s, this gives a good example of, even in 20 years, the technology has just amazing. But these were where I had a studio, and the first one is we recorded the 2 RAR pipes and drums. And I just thought it was really interesting because they. Sorry,
I was going to say to tell us what your setup was like back in those days, Rob.
Oh,
I remember.
I had a high set house, and I had a studio built under the house. It wasn't legal height, but it was only a storeroom anyway, so officially. So it was enough room to set up a band, but not a huge room. Maybe as big as probably a lounge room. I mean, there was a deck above it, so it was about the.
And it wasn't computer based, was it?
No, it was computer based, but it was a Windows computer. And it was a Yamaha. Yamaha had a 16-channel card that used to go into the computer,
right?
And it had DSP and everything on board. It was like really ahead of its time, and it was fairly good quality, and it just enabled me to just use the computer. I think we were the first all digital studio in town when we were running. But these guys, they came in and they had like bagpipes, and they had to tune the bagpipes. So what they had to do is they had to go outside and go to. Each one had to go to a whole separate corner of the yard and face away from the each other, and tune up or play. Get. I don't know what they did. They did something to get the bagpipes ready for recording. So you just got this wailing going all through the suburb. Just these. It was just really horrible sound.
And where do you place a microphone for a bagpipe?
Well, that was just basically, it was like a vocal.
Doesn't matter.
So all right. That's right.
So I'm
But
going
they
to
were
press
loud.
play. I'm going to press play now. Now, this is a screenshot of the audio output from Audacity too. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, chopper.
Yeah.
This is not bagpipes.
No, not at the moment. They wrote this.
Oh.
And this was the first track on the album. So you listen and you think, oh, it's a, whatever.
It's listenable.
all right. So I was looking for an appropriate break there. So.
Oh, that's okay. Now the interesting thing about that is at that time when I was mixing it down, I also had a country artist, and she hired Phil Emmanuel was in town, and she hired him to come into the studio and play some guitar which is a whole nother story, which was amazing. But he came in, he heard me playing this thing. He said, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's the 2RAR band. They've got a bit of a rock band. They play bagpipes along with it." He said, "That's good. I really like that song." Do you want me to finish the story after?
No,
Yeah,
finish the story.
Oh, okay. So, and Phil said, "Oh, I really like that. Play the song." So I played it all the way through, and then about 2 years later, he came back in the studio, and he said, "Oh, you know that that pipes and drums thing that you did?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I've got this. I ended up doing like a little backing track for it, so I could do the guitar part for it." So he used to play backing tracks when he played live on a DAT machine. So he put it into my DAT player, played this backing track, and played this song note for note. Like he'd heard it once, and he went away and got a backing track made up of it, and then and just played this thing. Amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
There's only those blokes; those guys were phenoms. Phenoms.
I remember working in the music shop with you, Rob, and I was out the back, and I heard this guitar sound. I thought, "Wow, what is that? That sounds killer." I come out, and Phil was in the shop, and he'd playing through a little Gorilla amp with some freaking $99 electric guitar.
Yeah,
so it just goes to show its performance, and
Yeah, this country singer, he was. She hired him to do it, so he came to the studio. She was there, and he was outside the studio. He was sitting there reading Reader's Digest magazines that I had lying around. And he's just lying there reading the Reader's Digest. Then he walks over to our mandarin tree, grabs a couple of mandarins, peels them, starts eating them, picks up the Reader's Digest. He's still outside the studio. He says, "Oh, just run the song through a bit." And I said, "Okay." So I opened the studio door, and I played the the song that we had as it is, this country song. And he said, "Yeah, okay, no worries. I'll just play it again." And he kept reading, and he's reading away. Then he said, "Oh, let's go. We might as well go in." So he tuned up. Obviously, he tuned up just by holding the guitar to his head, no tuner or anything, and tuned his guitar 100 perfect in tune. And then I said, "Okay, do you want to have a bit of a run through?" Mate, just hit record. You never know. You never know your luck. I hit record, bang, 100% perfect take, and beautifully played. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was those boys.
Incredible. Yeah. Just
okay.
Yeah. All right.
Ready? The last section.
Yep.
In 1964, we were asked to provide a new theme tune for the ITV pop music television program Ready, Steady, Go. We responded with 54321, which, with the help of weekly television exposure, rose to number 5 on the UK singles charts. Shortly afterwards, we reached number 5 with a cover of the Shirelles' Sha La La. Then came an album and several EPs, all of which charted well. For the next few years, we continued to have success with not 1, not 2, but 3 Bob Dylan covers, all of which went top 5. And later, towards the end of our career, and after many lineup changes, we had a hit with a song written by another famous American songwriter. Okay, you want to have a guess now before I wrap it up?
I feel like I feel like I should know it, but I don't.
So you know that they're a keyboard player.
Yeah. Well, the first one I wrote down was this.
What's this?
Long John Baldry.
No.
Okay. Then I wrote. I don't know why I wrote this because I don't think he's even South African.
Rick Wakeman.
I was thinking Alexis Corner for a minute there.
Oh, Rossi's the closest.
Yeah.
You're in the right period, Rossi. In the right zone. Okay, I'll go a little bit longer. With a distinctive look incorporating thick glasses and a beard, but no mustache.
Oh.
And known for hits like Do Wah Diddy and Pretty Flamingo. And the aforementioned covers, If You Gotta Go, Go Now, Just Like a Woman, The Mighty Quinn, and Blinded by the Light.
Yeah,
not to mention naming the band after myself.
Man.
Yes.
From Man. I didn't know he was South African.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did a Springsteen cover, didn't he?
I used to cover.
Yeah, Blinded by the Light.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Blinded by the Light. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no chance.
Good one.
That was a tough one.
All right.
I don't think your opening line was as good as your past couple of.
No.
Yeah, that was a letdown. That yeah,
Well, it was
Pretty Flamingo. Pretty Flamingo's a good song though.
That's a great song, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to cover that.
And Do Wah Diddy.
Who?
There she was.
Huxton Creepers.
Huxton Creepers did a cover of Pretty Flamingo. So
they had a clip got Annie Jones from Neighbours.
Oh, you can see the smile.
Archie just loved it. Archie was in love with her.
Yeah,
the drummer. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so Rob, the second piece of music that I'm actually a little reluctant to play, to be honest. But do you want to talk?
You know what? Well, this is a good. I think I know what Rob's going to play here because this is something that we're talking now about not the artist recording themselves, but if you want to set up your own little studio, this is something you have to deal with. Because anybody can come in,
especially if you want to make money from it. And this guy was a lovely guy, but his music wasn't exactly my kind of music. But what he did, he came in. He was a young 19 or 20-year-old piano player. He used to play in a restaurant and just play classical music in a restaurant in Townsville here. But his recording thing was a whole lot different. So he came to the studio. He's very, very soft spoken. He's almost Michael Jackson like,
definitely on the spectrum.
Yeah, really, really soft spoken. Very, very quiet. Never used to do anything. And he came in and he had this massive big bit of paper, and it had all of these drawings on it. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "This is the composition," and it had all of these different bits and pieces all over the place. And he said, so I use this, as a map. So we put, and he just played it. He played drums on the keyboard, just on the keyboard, and then he put guitar down. And he put vocals down, and did everything.
I've got a couple of mates who've written books like that.
Yeah, and so this is the first part of the album. He's very. It was actually for a recording company that recorded him. So this is the stuff.
And so I'll apologize to the listeners.
Oh, Curly, you stopped it.
I was looking at the waves. I was looking at the wave files and going, 45 seconds, something ripper's going to happen here.
Exactly what I was doing, Rossi. I was going, oh, man, there's 3 big hits, and then it goes mental.
But the thing about that is that you know, like this Vorak, the guy, he was completely serious about his music, and he was huge. The genre actually has a name. It's called black metal, and he was a really big artist in Germany.
I do know a lot of black metal bands. I do know black metal bands, and they're distinctive in that you can't tell what their names are because they're this illegible scroll.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what the band name is.
But the thing,
and the
like,
album
you hear
covers
that.
are all like this.
Yeah,
that's the album covers.
Yeah. You hear the cacophony of sound, but every single place, you know, like he'd do his, you know, a bit of and he'd go, oh, hang on, I need to do another take.
I think I can do better. I think I can do better.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So
very good.
That was very interesting. So guys, we need to summarize. We've been going for 55 minutes. So
perfect.
So what's the I suppose the long and short of it? But we've talked about what the person needs, a minimal setup to start doing it at home. We talked about the performance aspects of it. And then obviously they then move into a much more refined space potentially. Is that where it all ends, or what else is there? What do you see in the future? What, you know, where does AI?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, where does AI start to fit in here? Do you think?
I think AI will. It's already partly in some of these programs. I mean, the most obvious AI, which has been around for quite some time, is the automatic drummer in Logic.
Okay, and auto tune with vocals,
and definitely auto tune. Yeah, that's. But the thing that the reason I mentioned the Logic drummer is because that's something that actually listens to what's already there, what you've put down, and will play accordingly.
Wow.
Track's got a similar product now too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's I think it's all going there. You know, that's a direction it's going. Again, just to make it easier for someone that's got an idea in their head, and they play. What they do is they play a feel. So you know, they might go dunka chaka dunka chaka dunka chaka, and then they'll tell the drummer and the bass player, which is inside the computer, say right, play along with that feel, you know, and then they might make little tweaks to that.
But even the ones inside the computer will probably still be drunk.
Yeah. I just thought of something. I just thought of something that was really cool regarding AI and music that I just listened to a couple of days ago. Just recently, earlier this year, George Martin's son, who's got all the Beatles tapes, did a re-release of Revolver, and because Revolver was done on 4-track, where what
a record!
Yeah, where McCartney's bass and Lennon's guitar and Ringo's drums were all on the one track. And what the AI and this was developed by Peter Jackson's team when they did Let It Be. They teach the AI on whatever track they're recording. They teach the AI what McCartney's bass sounds like, and it goes in and it fucking pulls it out,
rips it out,
and it does the same with individual drums of Ringo's. So it can be all replaced. So and it's really done it. And you guys, I reckon you should have listened to it, because for all my life I'd listened to like Alan Rigby with Paul McCartney singing in my right ear and the string quartet in the left, and now he's in the middle of the strings. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah. And another, I think another area too, like if anyone wants to have a listen and look at where AI is going, Rick Beato, he's got an episode where he talks about AI. It's absolutely brilliant, and he actually gives examples, and he says where he thinks it's going, which is just brilliant. His thought process of where it's all going. But one example that he does give is he takes a song of Paul McCartney that Paul McCartney recorded in 2015 with his 70-year-old voice, and they took out his voice. They actually had the multi-track, so they took his voice, and then they used AI to change his voice into Paul McCartney in the 60s, and they put that back into the recording. And Rick Beato plays the old version, like the current, the proper version, and then he plays the new version, and the new version sounds better. It sounds like a younger Paul McCartney playing it. It's amazing. And I guess when you say where's it all going, Curly, I guess what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to. This may sound crazy, but you'll be able to literally go and put a banjo part down and say to the computer, turn that into a lead guitar part.
Love
and
it.
You'll be able to say, you'll be able to sing, as flat and whatever as you like, and sing a tune, and then you'll be able to say, change that into, put it in tune and change it into Taylor Swift's voice, and then you'll be able to record a song as Taylor Swift playing the banjo.
I also guess, Curly, in answer to your question, the simplest thing is don't be frightened. Get in, have a go. And the performance is the most important thing. Get the songs down. It's like what Gary Slater was saying to us a couple of weeks ago. He's really disappointed that he didn't capture those songs. Get the stuff down.
Get it down.
Use it as a notepad if you have to. Just get the ideas down. Doesn't matter how rough they are. Get the idea there. You can flesh it out. You can go back and redo parts later. But if the idea's lost, the idea's lost.
I mean, how cool is that? This is my in the future, this is my great granddad Curly playing the banjo. I love how we've just made Curly a banjo player now. So every week, Rossi, we have to make sure we ask him how his banjo's coming along.
Banjo playing's going. Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for that, guys. Well, I might have to play banjo on the Servo Pie song. So
yes,
absolutely. Well, Rob and Rossi, the two experts, thank you so much for a very I hope everyone listening has picked up a couple of little things, and potentially, even if you aren't musically minded, you've now got software and AI and all of this stuff that potentially is going to help you produce something that may only be listened to by you, but it may also be good enough to share. So get into it.
And Curly, if anyone's got any questions, just put them on the page, and I'm happy for you to send them on and questions and answer any questions if people have got, and I'm sure Rossi's the same.
Yeah, man, always happy because I love to encourage people. I want to see people having a go, and in a ways, I want to see what people can do. I think it's great, really do.
Excellent. I'll make sure we put something out there on the Facebook page as well. So if you do have any questions about home studio setups, please let us know, and we'll certainly pass them through to Robbie and Rossi. So if you've enjoyed this episode, wherever you've listened to it, whether it's on YouTube or or Spotify, which is now our video platform as well, or any of the audio platforms, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. We want to hear how we're going. So let us know whether we're hitting the mark or not. Check out, we're on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We're on, we've got our own website, unfilteredandundiscovered.com. I am not adding those two songs to the playlist on Spotify. But please check out our playlist on Spotify where we've just continued.
There's another 12 songs on that album. I can send them to you.
No. Lyric from the playlist this week comes from the very self-man himself, Rob Stanier, and it's She Makes Me Want to Be a Better Me. What a great lyric. It's on the playlist.
Hello, Robbie.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
And we will pleasure.
Next week we have Mick and Ursula on the show. We finally got them there, and really looking forward to it. Until next week, we will see you all later. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
me